one of the things I wondered was if a whole foods diet can help with binge eating disorder, and I wanted to test it out. To give you a little bit of backstory, one of my first binge foods was protein bars, specifically whey protein bars, and I used to go through a lot in a very short span of time, and given the price they are compared to other foods, it was quite an expensive choice. At some point, I started to get really bad acne, and I couldn't figure out why. It wasn't anything that I could see from my lifestyle which was causing it, so it must have been something from my diet. Long story short, I did a version of an elimination diet where you just eliminate different food groups to see how you react, and it turned out whey protein was something that was probably causing my acne. Since I stopped having it, my acne disappeared pretty quickly. It doesn't seem to happen with all dairy. Whey and low-fat yogurt especially, it seems to be an issue. So I don't have them. I don't get acne anywhere near as badly now. The thing is that what's weird is that it used to be one of my go-to binge foods, but as soon as I found that I was getting acne from it, literally instantly my cravings for those foods disappeared. I don't think I've ever missed them even once. You know, it's a bit weird that one of my go-to food that I couldn't seem to get enough of, just I suddenly instantly had no desire for anymore. I was still prone to binging on other things, and this got me thinking about whether I could take it even further. In my head, I thought, okay, if I have some kind of rules or structure in place that tell me, no, I definitely can't have this food or this ingredient, then I'm not going to be tempted by foods that have that ingredient anymore. And I realized that almost all the foods I binge on have some kind of processing in them. They have some, I guess you would call it artificial ingredients. I don't know what the correct term is. But they're basically, if you're following a whole foods or a paleo diet, you wouldn't be having them. So I was curious to see if a whole foods diet would stop me from binging, because I couldn't have any of the foods that I was prone to binging on. And my theory was that if I have these rules or a structure in place or a diet in place or an eating plan in place that says you cannot have these foods, then I just wouldn't be tempted to binge. So I tried a whole foods diet and I lasted about three and a half weeks. My diet was generally fruit and vegetables, lean proteins, eggs, poultry, fish, nuts, oats, some beans, lentils, that kind of thing. I allowed myself natural flavorings, natural seasonings, and yes, I did have honey and maple syrup. It wasn't a low carb diet, it was a whole foods and paleo diet. So I was still getting the carbs in. But my rule is that if the list of ingredients on the packaging had more than the ingredient itself, then it wasn't part of my diet. Actually, it did kind of work. There are some pros and cons, and you can tell by the fact that I already said I only did it for 3 to 3.5 weeks. I haven't stuck to it that much since then, but I'll go through what went well and what didn't. So what went well was, yes, I was actually very rarely tempted to binge. It happened very occasionally, I think in that 3.5 weeks, maybe 3 times. And this was at a point where it was every couple of days for me before that. I was feeling fuller and I was probably getting better nutrition. I think when you're getting entirely natural ingredients, that is going to have an impact on your overall health. And I lost weight. I think it was about 4 or 5 pounds. I guess if you're having a lot more fruit and vegetables, that's going to be getting you a lot more volume of food for fewer calories. So you're actually eating less calories overall during the course of the day. So that's going to have a knock-on impact on weight. So what didn't go well, and I did some kind of thinking about why. Number one is that I got bored of my food and my meals very quickly. I think that's just down to my own lack of experience and lack of planning and not really knowing how to cook when most of the foods I use or most of the ingredients I use I'm not having. And I could have probably done some more research on that. The binge cravings I did have actually hit me much harder than when I wasn't following the whole foods diet, probably because I was telling myself I can't have those foods at all, which kind of made them that more appealing, that much more tempting. And the binges I did have during that time were probably bigger than what the binges I had when I wasn't following the whole foods diet were. I think that's probably because I felt like I messed up, not only in terms of number of calories, but then also in terms of the ingredients I was having. So then I kind of said, I've messed up, let's just make the most of it today and then just get back on track tomorrow, which is a very unhelpful way of approaching things, which if you are prone to binge eating disorder, you probably already know as well. So overall, it did work in the sense that I got fewer temptations to actually binge, and it didn't work in the sense that my cravings were more intense and my binges were bigger on average than when I wasn't following the whole foods diet. Having done it for that much time, I can see the benefit and I can see how much it can change your health, but it is a very strict way to try and live and eat, and I just felt like I couldn't sustain it. I can see the benefits, and I have a huge amount of respect for the willpower of the people that do follow that diet and stick to it, and also the people that can follow that diet and then moderate any foods they have that aren't part of that plan. But for me, I just couldn't get around that last step. It didn't really help with what I needed it to, and so I stopped doing it. It's a great way to improve your health. It can help reduce the frequency of your cravings if you settle into that plan. For me, it was just a bit too tough to stick to and didn't entirely cover what I needed help with. But yeah, like I said, it's got health benefits, so it might be worth a try.